Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Choices, Finding Your Joy. Paula Bell here. Again, I am just so happy to share just fun, inspiring guests with you. I'm so happy to have with us today Nikki Bruno. She is a professional student coach and educational consultant who specializes in academic life coaching for high schoolers and college students. She also helps her students make decisions regarding colleges, majors, and careers, as well as providing access to tutoring and test prep if they need it. She does so much for so many, and I'm just so excited to share her. And you know, being a mother and a grandmother, having someone like Nikki out there to help with, you know, our children's decisions and their progress. It's so fantastic. First off, welcome, Nikki.
Hi, thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm just so excited. I would love you to share a bit of your background with everyone.
Sure. So I have a little bit of a non-traditional way into business. I actually spent probably the first decade of my academic and professional life in marine biology. I went to high school for it, I went to college for it, and I was just really interested in the sciences, life sciences, nature. And alongside with that, I studied a lot of education sort of things as well. I would do field research programs and outreach and all this kind of stuff. So I was always very interested in bringing, you know, what I've learned from science and the natural world and bringing it to the public and most especially children. So once I got my degree in marine biology, I decided, okay, you know, maybe I want to do something a little bit different for now. I'm kind of, you know, tired of poking fish in a laboratory. It's fun, but let me do something different. And so I got my teaching certificate in science, and then I became a science teacher at a school down in Florida. And kind of what eventually led me to this was my time in that school, when it was definitely so rewarding being in a classroom and being around students all the time. But there's such, you know, the emphasis on testing and all this sort of stuff about grades, which I totally understand the need for it. You know, we need to be able to empirically measure a student's progress, but these students weren't being taught how to study for these tests. They weren't being taught how to keep themselves organized, how to manage their time. They weren't being taught any of these actual skills that they need to succeed in school and subsequently their careers. And so many of my students, no matter how smart they were just so stressed out, just over, and these were middle school students. And I mean, they were like way stressed than a child should be. And that's definitely a trend that I keep seeing, that parents keep seeing, is that there's all this pressure going on in school for students to perform, but they're not necessarily being taught the skills anymore. They just have these expectations. So it kind of led me to start, what I did was this kind of deficit I saw in students being educated in these skills. So I kind of started my academic coaching practice, working with students, again, on the time management, the organization, and eventually sort of added the college advising piece onto it. And I went on to become a certified educational consultant. So it's kind of building up my practice. And I also have the tutoring added onto it. I have some really great tutors that work for me. We do test prep. I really want it to be a very wide ranging service, kind of anything a family needs educational wise. I wanted to be able to provide that.
So when you realized there was such a need to help the students with the preparation and, you know, getting through these tests and getting organized, what was your first steps in when you said, okay, I want to do something here, I want to help? How did you figure out what steps to take to put this into process?
So I think it was kind of organic. I mean, just my nature with the background in science, just very heavy researching. I just started reading a lot. I started looking up and looking at a lot of other professions and saw that, you know, there was this life coaching profession, but, you know, I didn't really want to work with adults, but I wanted to do something similar. And I didn't even realize there was such a thing as academic life coaching until I kind of again, went into more research. There's some other people in my field who were doing similar things. And I kind of just, I don't know, I became inspired by the work that they were doing and started trying it out for myself. And, I am a natural teacher, and, I almost won the County of the Teacher Year Award. I was a runner-up. So, it just feels very natural to me to be working one-on-one with students. Yeah. So, I don't know, it's just kind of all kind of flowed together. And as time goes on, I keep looking up if there's anything that I'm stuck on. I'm not the kind of person who just can sit there and be stuck on a problem. I research, I ask people, I figure it out.
I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh, you are so awesome, Nikki. I just have to say that. And
thank you.
First off, I have to say thank you, because I can imagine the difference, knowing how to be prepared, having more understanding, organization, the difference that makes for these students when they go take the test. I can imagine what a difference it makes. Just that input that you can give them. And then as that progresses, okay, so they pass the test, then they have to think, well, okay, I'm going to move on. What college do I want to go to? Is that something you help with as well?
Yeah, definitely. So depending on when I pick up a student and kind of the program I'm with and their needs, sometimes they already know what they want to do, and sometimes they have no idea. And that's sort of part of an ongoing discussion we have about their interests, about their desires, and kind of about how their personality. And I also use some software that does career and aptitude assessments. Some of them are really cool. They're like these little mini games that they could play, and it figures out if they're more, spatial, visual, or like logical, mathematical, that kind of stuff. And so I can use that information to kind of tie in what careers might be good for them. But again, I do try to keep it a very sort of organic process, but it's just very personalized. I just really want to get to know the student and who they are, and then, use my resources and my knowledge to be able to try to connect them with something they might be interested in. For example, I had a student last year who was really interested in neuroscience, but was also really interested in marine biology. And, with a degree in marine biology, I'm pretty familiar with that. And I told him that I knew people from my, college research experience that were actually doing neuroscience research on aplysia, which is a kind of sea slug that is famous for having these very large neurons. And there's actually a lot of research going on there. And he had no idea this was this whole field, and he could actually combine the two things he was passionate about. He didn't have to choose. So that's just, one example of just by figuring out what a student likes, I can kind of use what I know to try to see if we can mesh it together into their dream career in a way.
That is so fantastic. I love that. So you get to know each student and get a feel for what their passion is and what they're drawn to. And so is that also going to make a difference, Nikki, on, let's say you recommend a particular college or university? Does that play into that as well?
Absolutely. I mean, some schools are known for being stronger in, the STEM, the engineering kind of stuff. Some schools are stronger in their research. Some schools are stronger in liberal arts programs. So, for example, liberal arts schools are good for students who are more holistic, humanities-based. They're more interested in kind of social dynamics, and they also like a smaller environment that's really discussion-based, as opposed to the student who's, really into, building robots or like doing research. They might want to go to more of those, kind of bigger universities. And there's no right or wrong answer. It's just really what I try to do is what's the best fit for each student. And it's not even what topic they want to study too, but it's the school environment. It's where the school is located. It's what the school population is like. There's so many different factors that really go into it. I never even off the bat, I don't recommend schools to students, unless I've been working with them for a while and I can really research each school in depth. And it's kind of like, I'm kind of like a matchmaker almost, between schools and students.
You read my mind. I was just thinking that. It's like, she makes it happen. She helps connect with the correct energy, the energy that school's going to have, as well as, the educational side of it, but the feel and And then also if you have a student who's also has a passion in something along the line of music or athletics, does that play into it as well?
Absolutely. And again, there are some schools, if a student wants to be a professional musician, they could go to a conservatory, but some of those conservatories are part of larger universities, so they could also study engineering, and so it really depends on, are they trying to do this for a career, or is this just a huge passion of theirs? Like, for example, I was in marching band all of my middle and high school time, and I wanted to continue that in college. So I did look for a school that had not only a marine biology program, but a marching band. And I was in that for a while, and I'm not in a marching band anymore, but I still play my clarinet on occasion.
Well, I was just going to ask you what you played. My oldest son
it's back there. It's my clarinet.
Trombone. And I played a clarinet in high school. Yay.
Awesome. Yeah.
I love that. Oh my God. You are just, this is so fantastic. And so let's talk a bit about some suggestions you might have for parents out there, parents and grandparents that are interested in, they really want to help their children, their grandchildren find the right school and really excel. So talk a bit about what you share with parents of students.
Well, here's a little secret maybe about undergraduate school, is that it doesn't matter that much. Like, it matters, but the whole real deal with undergraduate school is that you want to go and you want to have a good experience where you get to learn about learning and learn more about your passions. And if you're really trying to specialize in something, you go to med school, you go to law school, you go to business school, you go to graduate school. That's when you really get into the career kind of stuff. So obviously, if you've been dead set on being a doctor from the age of 8 years old, you can do pre-med, you can do all this sort of stuff. But really what I encourage parents to do is to kind of be open-minded. I know it's so nerve-wracking, this whole process, and it's your children's future on the line, and the economy and all this kind of stuff, and you want them to be you want them to go to Harvard, and you want them to be a lawyer and all that kind of stuff. But if that's not what your student really, really is interested in, then don't push them that hard. Definitely push them to explore as many things as possible. And a student might be dead set that they want to do something and then later on realize in their undergraduate career that they don't want to do it. Yeah. I can't tell you how many students I went to school with for marine biology that came into the program that wanting to be dolphin trainers at SeaWorld. And then they realized that, you have to get dirty and covered in fish guts and it's actual science, So definitely, help your kids explore different career options, and definitely reach out to professionals and ask them questions, and ask maybe if you can shadow them in the office one day. And there's so many professionals I know that are so happy to talk to students who are interested in their fields, because it's like, oh, cool. Like, a lot of people are really passionate about what they want to do and they want to share it. So you never really know what people can be open to. And I definitely encourage parents to talk to, their own friends who are doing different things. Can my kid have coffee with you one day and just talk about the real world, and what kind of personalities do well in these kind of environments? The kind of person who is also a family physician is kind of different than a neurosurgeon. They're both doctors, but it's still different, personalities that are needed.
Yes. And, I love your point. Understand that your children may want to go a different direction. Myself as a parent, my 3 kids are completely different categories that they have progressed and found their passion is. One's health and wellness, one's business, and one's a chemist. So you don't know, mm-hmm. And it's really great to just allow them to figure that out and then support them. Mm-hmm. Now, here's a question, Nikki. What do you say when counseling if you have a student, and I would think this has come up, that says, I really don't know what I want to do?
I think this goes back to the exploration part. And there's this little chart that I show my students, and I hope I remember it correctly. It's 4 intersecting circles, like a Venn diagram. And one is what I'm good at, what I'm passionate about, what I can be paid for, and what the world needs. And kind of in the middle of all that is what, your ideal career is. So think about these categories. What does the world need that you're also passionate about, that you also have skills about, that you can be paid for? Because obviously this is going to have to be a job. As much as you like making jewelry out of seashells, that might just have to be a hobby, So kind of think about these different categories and see what sort of careers we can fit into that. And again, go back to exploring different professions, do research, talk to people, and still, if you have no idea, undecided is a major. And you pick a really good, school that you feel like you'll fit in at. And what you do as an undecided undergraduate, you take lots of different classes in different departments with different professors, talk to those professors, talk to those advisors, do a quick little internship or something. You don't have to declare a major until your junior year. So you have a lot of time to explore all these different options. So really don't have to feel too much pressure to figure it out at 18, 19, 20.
And many times we can think we know what we want to do, and we can get into something else and discover, oh my gosh, I love this. I know myself. I wanted to be an accountant. That's what I was going to college for, and I started working at a restaurant, and I ended up buying a restaurant and loving being a restaurant owner. And I got to, use my accounting skills, but so many times things can change. And that really is a success, isn't it, Nikki, when they can find a career that also is their passion and find happiness in that. That's just, that's really great.
And even if it's not their passion, some people really want to just raise a family and get a good, stable job that they can bear, and if that's what they want, that's great. We make a big deal about following your dreams and everything, but sometimes you have to be practical too. So it's also a balance to consider what your future goals are. Are you really going to be an Antarctic explorer, or do you want to settle down one day?
Yeah. And that's a great point, because, we can, just find happiness in, as you said, having a family and having a job that, you're happy with yourself with that job. You feel good. You take your job seriously. That's a success. That really is. Really, joy can be our passion. Yeah. I love that. Would you like to share any other examples or stories of different students you've helped with over the years? We always love stories.
One comes to mind who I actually worked with for a very brief amount of time this past spring. He was the stepson of somebody I sail with. I also race sailboats. That's another thing I do. But I do lots of things. Anyway, and so he was pretty much done with his undergraduate career, except he had one more class that he needed to take and pass. And he was kind of borderline on every single class. And his father was really worried that it was an online class and he was kind of a slacker, and that he wasn't going to do it and he wasn't going to be able to graduate, and, all these terrible things. So we were primarily working with, the academic coaching program, since he was already about to graduate college. And I worked with him just for our first hour, and we went over different methods of just, managing your time and how to kind of schedule out your week. And the next week I met with him, and he said to me, he's like, Nikki, for the first time in my life, I was the first person to turn in an assignment. I'm just like, all right, yeah, and I was kind of surprised too. Usually kids are a little stubborn, they don't get it after the first hour, but he really dove in, and he took my advice and he ran with it and passed the class, got his degree, and it was a happy ending. So yeah, and a lot of things are the initiative of the student. there's some students I've worked with who didn't listen to a thing I said, and they still kind of struggled, so I'm not a miracle worker by any means, but when they do have the initiative to improve themselves, there are definitely good results that can come out of it.
Yeah, yeah. And when they reach those accomplishments, what that does for their self-esteem and how good they feel about themselves, and that gives them confidence in their next steps. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and so much of it is like what you said, their confidence too, and especially when we're talking about, career indecision and all that stuff, what matters more, again, are these skills that underlie the career. It's, can you effectively communicate to other people? Can you effectively manage different obligations at the same time, or project management and stuff like that? These are the, what we call the transferable skills between professions. If you can get all those skills down, it kind of almost doesn't matter what career you go into. You can learn the specifics on the job, but if you have those basics really down and solid, then you kind of can succeed anywhere.
Yes, I love that. And that's really a lot of where you come in, isn't it, with the basics? Those basic building blocks and different ways of looking at things. And I would assume you also help them with the research as well, with the way you interview them and look at the different areas. And so they're going to learn those skills. So let's say down the road, they've graduated from college. Well, they're going to have the skills that you've helped them learn, and that's going to help them in their job search.
Absolutely. And really do things like, we do stuff like resume building and like interview skills too when it comes to it. So whatever helps them become a successful person. I mean, I kind of want to say my goal is to put life coaches out of business, so these students grow up and don't need them later on, although I love all my colleagues, but the whole goal is to really prepare these students for the rest of their lives.
I love that. Well, let's talk a bit about, tell everyone how they can reach you, and break it down a little bit. If someone contacts you, a parent or a student, what steps you begin with, and share a bit about that. So for those out there thinking, oh my gosh, I have to contact Nikki.
Yeah, so you can reach me through my website. It's studentcoachingservices.com, and you can email me through there. My phone number's on there. I have some brief descriptions of, the categories of the programs we do, and a bunch of articles that I've written and some other people who work with me have written, just some informational stuff. And we've got a newsletter that goes out, once every month or 2 months. Definitely don't spam your email box or anything. I mean, we're a very, very small business. We much prefer to spend our time working with students, So usually what happens is a parent will hear about me, usually word of mouth. I mean, it's very heavy word of mouth business. Parents have to trust me with their students, and they pass my name along. So I'll get a phone call or something, and then I usually chat with them a little bit on the phone briefly. What does your student need? And then I recommend, a certain program, and then I'll just email them more detailed information about the programs, the packages, the hours, simple contract, cancellation policy, all that boring stuff. And I actually work with a lot of my students online. I've seen students, I'm in New Jersey, but I've seen students from Florida to Maine. I had one last year who was studying abroad in Germany. So he was in Berlin and I was in New Jersey, and we were talking. So we usually set up the whole online arrangement, whether it's Skype or Google Hangouts or FaceTime. And kind of move forward through there. So the academic coaching program is kind of, first I actually have a assessment I give the students that is kind of a self-survey, and it goes through the different areas of their study skills and organization to try to figure out what areas they need the most help in. And that helps me determine kind of how many hours a week or month that they might benefit from. And so we kind of go from there, and we meet up, once a week, twice a week, and we work on that stuff. And I have some students who honestly, sometimes all we do is they just sit there with me on the other side of the video chat because they just need somebody watching them while they do their homework, you know, so it's kind of very simple. I don't do a lot of talking, and sometimes we do. And then with the college coaching, there are some different programs. I have a comprehensive one where I take a student in maybe their sophomore year, and I can advise them through maybe different clubs that they should join, and maybe different extracurricular activities and volunteer stuff. And then we go through the whole college application process when they come to it. And sometimes students come to me who are kind of right now, a lot of seniors who are applying to college. I'm getting a whole bunch of phone calls like, hey, I really need help with my essay. I know where I want to go to school. I know what I want to do, but this essay is really killing me. Can you help me with that? So I kind of have a whole wide range of services.
That is just so fantastic, Nikki. I mean, this is something that's really needed out there because, you know, there's so many students, so many young ones that do have a few challenges. We go through that, and to have you available, that is just so fantastic. This was just a fantastic idea that you came up with and tool. And you being a teacher, you know, you're still in that service. Well, we have a few minutes left in the show. What last words do you want to leave with everyone today? What thoughts do you want to give the viewers out there as we say goodbye? Yeah,
definitely the big thing is don't stress too much about the little things. You know, look at the bigger picture. I mean, at the end of the day, what do you as a parent want? You want your child to be happy. You want them to be healthy, you know, and all the little things that go into getting the best SAT score, getting into the Ivy League. I mean, these are such small things in that bigger picture. Really focus on what will help your student develop socially and emotionally. And that's kind of where, you know, I see my part coming in is I'm like the support for the students that they don't have. They don't have this, you know, emotional support. And sometimes they don't want to, you know, their parents are kind of the naggers. They need this kind of third party here. And there isn't a lot of people who do what I do. There are all these sort of tutoring services that just go over the math and the English and stuff like that. But, you know, I'm almost like a mentor, you know, for these teenagers. So overall, just try to be supportive, you know, be the passenger, not the driver. I sometimes say, you know, you're there, you're showing the map, you're telling them where to turn, but you're not going to grab the wheel for them. Yeah. You know, and colleges don't want to see that either. I mean, if mom and dad are emailing the college, that doesn't look good, you know. Mm-hmm. So just try to, you know, as your student matures, just support them, listen to them, absolutely always listen to them with an open mind and open ear. And you might be surprised. You might learn something new about your own kid.
Yes. Oh, I love it. You are just a gem. Oh, Nikki, I'm just so happy to have had you on the show, honey. Gosh, I'm grateful for all you do. And, you know, it makes me think about when my kids were in college, I supported them on the direction they wanted to go. But I had no idea really how to counsel them. It would have been fantastic to have known someone like you then. This is just really fantastic what you're doing, honey. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's really, really great.
So grateful. And to everyone out there, thank you for joining us today. Love, hugs, blessings. Nikki, love, hugs, blessings your way, honey.
Thank you so much. You too. Absolutely.
Bye.
Bye-bye.